Welcome. We're going to talk about how to build an AI chatbot in this video. We're going to be using ChatGPT backend, so we need to understand its API. And then we're going to be setting up the UI, and then we're going to set up our API to call the ChatGPT API, and then we're going to be showing the response. And that's basically what the chatbot is. So let's look at the OpenAI ChatGPT API. You get a few tokens that sign up, but they don't last very long. They expire after 3 months, so use it or lose it. And it's a different account than the ChatGPT Premium, so you may want to pay attention to that. Now, there is a playground over here that you can use for your prompting. We're going to use a very simple you are a casual conversationalist prompt where we can start chatting. But this is basically where you would customize everything about your chatbot. All right, and then basically the way that the ChatGPT API works, you have to send the entire history every time, and then the messages are sent with role and content. And so we need to store these in the state, and then we're going to be sending them over along with the initial prompt, which is the system message. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to be setting up a component. We need to set up a state, chat container, make it into a component, add a heading, messages section, input, and so this is just our scaffolding, so to say. So let's do that over here. We're going to be adding a little block. Let's call this chat container. So that's going to be our root block in our component. So let's just make it a component, chat component over here. All right. And now let's just make this chat component a little bit center. Let's adjust the styling over here. So the width maybe about this much. Yeah, maybe about 600 pixels. And then height is going to be dynamic. And then we can set up the spacing. Let's do margins auto on the sides. And then a little bit of top margin. All right. And maybe we add a little border. All right. So this is our main chat window that we centered it. We need to add a heading. So let's add it over here. Let's call this chatbot. And then we can add additional blocks over here. So we're going to be adding a couple of blocks. We're going to call this messages block, and then we're going to add another block after that, and that's going to be the inputs block. All right, right now they're empty. So in the messages section, we need to show the messages from the state. So over here, we said we need to have a state and a chat container. We need to make it into a component. We forgot to do that, so let's do that right now. Or sorry, actually, we did do that. So this is our chat component. So if you look at the tree, you can see it over here. We have heading, messages, and inputs. All right, very good. So now we need to show the messages over here. So for that, we need to add state. So I'm going to come and add a new class over here. So we're going to make this state progress false messages empty array. All right, so we initialize our state like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a repeater. Let's add it over here, repeater. So in this repeater, we need to create a loop function. So this is where the value is going to be coming from. Let's call this, it's going to be the messages in state. All right. And then what else? We need to show the dynamic text and message role from messages in state. So let's add a few basic messages over here, just so that we can see how it's going to be displaying. All right. And then for the repeater, let's go back over here. We're going to call this message. So as we loop through all the messages, they're going to be accessible in the context with the variable name message. And then we're going to add a little JavaScript text. So let's add a JavaScript text over here. And for the JavaScript text, that needs to be coming from, let's maximize it over here. this dot context dot message, because that's where we put it, and then content is going to be where it's coming from. Okay, so we did that, but we need to set these blocks so that it's going to be coming together. And spacing, let's add a little bit of padding, 20 pixels. All right, and maybe a little margin to the top and bottom, 10 pixels, and then maybe a little border. All right, light gray, and then maybe a little background. So let's make it light blue. All right. So this is fine. So we can now see it. But what we need to do is just show left and right. So these need to be shown left and right depending on what the role is, messages role. So we actually put it a system prompt here. So we're not going to be really displaying that. That's going to be getting added automatically. That's our system prompt setup over here. So let's take that out for now. And what we want to do here is if it's a message coming from the user, the margin right is going to be maybe about 50 pixels, 100 pixels, something like that. And if it's the assistant, it's going to be the other way around. So our messages are going to appear on the left, the responses are going to appear on the right. So let's just do that. We're going to be editing this JavaScript text. We're going to add styles. And all right, so let me just maximize this. All right, so what we want is it's going to be dynamically determined. So if this context message.role is user, then we're going to be using margin right, and otherwise it's going to be margin left, and we're going to put about 50 pixels for that. All right, beautiful. All right, it's working now. All right, for the inputs, let's just add. We forgot to add inputs. I knew we forgot something. We forgot to add inputs. All right, so we had the background color, the progress. Oh, we need progress. So let's add the progress over here. So what we're gonna do is let's come over here. So under the messages, we have a repeater. Below the repeater, we need a progress bar that's displayed. So that's going to be shown only if the progress in state is set. So let's just add it over here. Progress, it should be in the forms. All right. So now we added it over here. Let's set the size 100%. Maybe a little padding, margin. 10 pixels, 10 pixels. All right. So that should be good enough. So we have a little progress bar. So the display of this should only be happening if the progress is set in state. So what we're going to do is progress one styles. So we're going to say display if this.state.progress, then block. Otherwise, none. All right. So as you can see, now it went away. All right, very good. So I think we're almost ready. We need to show the inputs. All right, let's add the inputs. So we're going to be adding a little label over here. All right, so let's call this message. And then after that, we're going to be adding a little text area. All right, let's add it. So let's call this message text. And then the ID for this needs to be, it was set here as my message so that we can actually get its value. So let's set the message as, all right, as its ID. And let's maybe add a little bit of padding here to the inputs. So maybe about 20 pixels. And maybe let's do the height of this a little bit more. All right. And then after this one, we need to add a button. So that's going to be 100% width. And we can set some padding. Let's see. Yeah, maybe about 20 pixels over here. All right, so that should suffice. And we're going to call this submit. And we can actually make this typography a little bit bigger. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So our core interface is ready to go. So let's set up the API. So what we're going to do here is, this is a chat component. So anything that's submitted is going to go into the API section over here. So let's add an API. Let's call this chat API. So I'm just going to be copying and pasting the code over here, primarily because it's a very small code. You can easily type it yourself, but in the interest of time. So as you can see here, this is our setup prompt. We had it over here. We're calling the same area is here. We're going to be sending the API key that I have not entered yet. And we're going to be getting the messages from the client side call, and then we're going to be adding it to the setup and sending it to ChatGPT, and then we're going to be returning the response. All right, so it should be straightforward. So I'm just going to pause the video and enter the API key. All right, we entered our API key. So the next step is we added the code. We are good to go. So let's just reset the messages over here, because we're going to be adding them as we go. All right, so we have nothing right now in state. So what needs to happen is we're going to be calling the API on click. So let's just do that over here. JavaScript, we're going to add an event. And in here, we're going to do, all right, so what shall we do? The first thing that we're going to do is, so this needs to be an async function. Await this.set state, we're going to be doing progress through messages. So we're adding the message to our current list of messages. So this is the role is going to be the user. The content is going to come from get child DOM element. We're going to we named it message. So we're going to be getting its value. And yeah, so that's going to be our main state starting, right? So we're going to be showing progress. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be sending messages from the state. So we need to call the API now. Call API, and we named it chat. And we're going to be sending all the messages from state. And we're going to be getting responses. So if you hover over this, it will show you that the response actually comes as so over here it returns as response and error. So we have to pull the data as deconstructed response and error. All right. So we got the response there. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we need to set the message as it comes back. So it's going to be like that. So this is the actual message content that comes in. And if this is not shown, then we're going to show an alert. So it's going to be like that. All right. And then otherwise, we're going to be adding the message. We're going to start showing progress. And then the assistance message is going to be added as the new message. All right, let's save it. And yeah, I think that should be it. So let's try it out. Hello. How are you doing today? I'm great. How about you? So it's working. That's about it. And you can see this on the front end. Once you publish it, it's basically going to be the same functionality. You can use it. Um, so there's a lot to do. Obviously, this is a very rudimentary setup. UI styling needs to be done. Scrolling of elements, disable, re-enable, fine-tuned models, function calling, image generation, speech interface, many possible enhancements. But this is just the basic intro as to how you can set this up in Web Digital. And yeah, that's about it. Get into webdigital.com and get your own account. Thank you very much for watching.